Just different.
I see the way these people moving, gotta step according. These days you never know who's watching, better keep your 40. Been on my soapbox for years, saying the end was coming. While y'all was busy popping Zans, the master plan unfolded. Now all I see is bot bitches and fake niggas and pussy niggas who only bust triggers on other niggas. You get an illegal weapon and started taking pictures, like them feds ain't watching all in your celly system. China's here, motherfucker, they're no longer coming. We wear the shackles on our faces and you niggas love it. You niggas.
Hold up, I'm jamming. Hold up, I'm jamming. Hold up. Play it. I gotta play it. I gotta play a little Bible real quick.
I see the way these people moving, gotta step according. These days you never know who's watching, better keep your 40. Been on my soapbox for years, saying the end was coming. While y'all was busy popping Zans, the master plan unfolded. Now all I see is bot bitches and fake niggas and pussy niggas who only bust triggers on other niggas. You get an illegal weapon and started taking pictures, like them feds ain't watching all in your celly system. China's here, motherfucker, they're no longer coming. We wear the shackles on our faces and you niggas love it. You niggas really sold your souls for 3,200. But when them tanks hit the streets, better get the bussin'. Mask off, man. Mask off, nigga. Mask off, man. Mask off, nigga. Mask off, man. Mask off, nigga. Mask off, nigga. Mask off, nigga. Mask off, mask. Mask off, nigga. Mask off, mask. Mask off, nigga.
All right. Okay. I'll stop torturing the public with my music. Yeah. I appreciate you guys for tuning in wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You know what I'm saying? Wherever you are in the world, thank you for tuning in to the Culture Show. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to pull up to your boy, and I appreciate that very much. You know what I'm saying? So, my name is Culture. You know what I'm saying? Novus isn't in today. You feel me? But he will be soon, at some point. So yeah, we just got a couple of things on the docket today. We're gonna be reacting to a couple of videos about my boy, VIVEK. All right. Now look, I'm really on this right now. I'm really on this. I feel like I'm on something. All right. I think there's a choice that we have in this election. Okay. We can vote with emotion, or we can vote with with logic in our brain. All right. Those are our only two options. We can vote with emotion, or we can vote with our logic in our brain. I think emotion, the story, like the storyline that we want to happen, as far as, you know what I'm saying, Trump getting cheated or whatever the case might be, then him coming back, you know what I'm saying, the 4 times indicted, pulling up, still getting inaugurated, you know what I'm saying, then land the motherfucking smack down on it. Okay, sounds amazing. All right, sounds like a blockbuster movie, but that's my problem. It sounds way too much like a movie to me. All right, it sounds way too much like a movie to me. It's hard to believe that's real. You know what I mean? It's hard to believe that there isn't a dick waiting around the corner. Okay, it's hard not to believe it. And then we have our logical choice, and I believe the logical choice, in my humble opinion, is Vivek. Okay, I think he has. I personally believe he has all the qualities that we're looking for as far as, you know, what we're looking for in a leader. You know, so we're gonna go ahead and react to a couple of these videos. We're gonna react to first. We're gonna react to a BCP video. Excuse me. I'm gonna react to a BCP video. Black conservative perspective. Stephen A. freaks out over Vivek Ramaswamy wanted to raise the voting age. So we're gonna go ahead and hop into that. Make sure you guys leave a like, leave a subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Share it out. Tell your friends and your family that your boy is here. Your boy is hot, and I'm ready to get active.
gain our independence from?
I don't know. Didn't they go to war?
Yeah, who did we fight against?
Everybody.
Everybody. I don't know. Didn't they go to war? Yeah, but who we fight against? Everybody. Man, we fought against everybody.
I don't even know.
Take a guess. What country?
Korea.
Yes, the 69th president of the United States of America.
69th.
Oh, come on, dog.
Richard Nixon.
Who fought in the Civil War?
Come on, dog.
Soldiers.
Come on, dog.
Who against who?
America and France.
Who fought in the Civil War?
Whoa.
I don't know that one. I don't know.
Take a guess. Who against who?
So,
Bet he's a BLM supporter. I bet it, bro. There's no way.
You know this.
I don't.
Dig deep.
Civil War. Hey, y'all, who fought in the Civil War?
Hey,
Cam, who fought in the Civil War? Who fought in the Civil War? Yeah.
Hey,
I forgot, honestly.
Take a guess. Who against who?
It was the U.S. and the Japanese.
No way you got that right. You just guessed?
Yo.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
The Genesis G90, the first interior that...
What?
All right, guys.
What do we? Oh my goodness. You know, I was afraid of this. I was very afraid of this. I think the end times might actually be upon us now. America might just be over with because, like, that's the future, my G. Like, that's the future. Those are my peers. Like, those guys aren't too much younger than me. I'm 23. So those guys aren't too much younger than me. And there's no way. Oh my goodness. This is insane.
Guys, so we got to talk about Stephen A. Smith, who is trying to make a name for himself as not just a sports commentator, but also a political commentator as well, too. He's trying to get into politics. Even though the more I hear of Stephen A's politics, the more I'm starting to believe that Stephen A's politics are probably about the same as Bill Maher's politics, okay? He's just a classical liberal who sometimes says things that make sense, which, you know, that would make sense for a classical liberal, right? That's why they're classically liberal, right? But Stephen A. Smith was asked by CNN's Abby Phillips about having testing requirements to be in office, okay? He was asked about a mental competency test. He was asked about VIVEK Ramaswamy's proposal in regards to raising the voting age unless you can pass a civics test. And I want to go ahead and play his response in this exchange with Abby Phillips because I think that his position here is interesting, and I want to talk about it. So without further ado, roll the clip.
Yes.
If you were to look at the state of Washington, the candidates that we have, do you think that there should be a requirement for people to step down? And at what age should that be?
I don't think age should have anything to do with it, but I do believe that when you're looking at somebody whose health is clearly debilitating, at least to some degree, we're living in a society right now, Abby, where those folks are being insulted.
One of the things, I mean, we played a Nikki Haley Biden. She's been going after President Biden on the age thing, but she's also proposed this mental competency test for politicians over the age of 75. I mean, do you agree with that idea?
Yes, I really do. And the reason why, because there's nothing wrong. If you're just saying there is a standard that needs to be met and it's applicable to all on either side of the aisle, I'm all for it because we certainly want people that are cogent enough and alert enough and in position to handle their business. You're talking about a job that requires you to run the country, the commander-in-chief, crying out loud. And it's not just about when it comes to law enforcement. You're talking about tax reform. You're talking about education. You're talking about immigration.
But
you're talking about a plethora of issues.
Shouldn't there be a mental competency test for all of them?
Somebody.
Shouldn't
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like we can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like just at the beginning of every term. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like once a year, do like a physical. You know, that's like public record or something like that. Not like, you know what I'm saying, the finger up the ass kind of physical, but like, just make sure that all, the engine is still running smoothly, like all the bells are ringing properly, shit like that, Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say what she's gonna say. Like, we need that for everybody.
Shouldn't there be a mental competency test for all of them?
I'm saying it's a standard. I'm only speaking to the standard. I'm saying no one should be ostracized and no one should be immune from having to be subjected to the same standards. If there is a job, any job that you point to out there, it's a requirement that comes with it. You can't just walk on the air and be Abby Phillips. I mean, excuse me. This is a young lady that's been doing great work at CNN, and before that, the Washington Post, the Politico, and the list goes on. Stephen A. Smith, New York Daily News, Philadelphia Inquirer, Fox Sports, ESPN. You can't just walk through the door and do those.
And Buddy trying to get some cheeks. Buddy trying to get some cheeks. That's all this is right here. Hey, I ain't mad at. But like so I ain't mad at. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Those jobs, there's a requirement that you have to meet in order to do certain things, regardless of the profession. Why should the presidency of the United States or any elected office be any different? I have no problem with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of tests and requirements, and since we have you here, I might as well ask you, because Vivek Ramaswamy, who's also running in this Republican field, he's proposing a constitutional amendment that would require that young people who are 18 to 24 years old, have to pass a civics test or serve 6 months in the military in order to even vote. Is that fair?
No. Excuse my language.
Hey yo, like this, he was so taken aback too. He was so what? No. I thought you just said that there should be like requirements for things like, I like voting is a very big responsibility. It's a very big responsibility. Very big responsibility. So like maybe like would it not be kind of smart that these people, in this like, and I'm in that age bracket too. And I'm like, I'm down with it. Like I'm with it. I'm down with that. I like tests. All my teachers from my high school days, my middle school days, they'll tell you, he ain't do no homework. He didn't really do no classwork like that. But when it came to tests, he was an ace on that month. He always aced the post. I like tests. I believe in a test. Pull up with it. I'm ready. I took a civics test the other day just to make sure that I could still pass the civics test. And I got a 45 out of 50 on one of them generic ass sites. So hey, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a 9. I'm batting 90. You know what I'm saying? Like so, everybody else got to get up to par with me. Maybe not 90%, maybe like a 70% pass rate will be good enough. Something like that. But he was just saying though, like, hey, there should be requirements for this, that, and the third, but there shouldn't be requirements for voting. Okay.
Hell no. That is not. This is America, and the reality of the situation is, last time I checked, there isn't a draft taking place to compel you to serve your country. It would be nice if everybody wanted to do it, but in America, you have the freedom to do otherwise. And as far as I'm concerned, to have some kind of constitutional amendment that requires you to serve in that capacity, a capacity that he deems fitting, I think is a bit self-serving at this particular moment in time, because he's an individual that's obviously running for the presidency of the United States, and and that's going to ingratiate him with some of the folks on the right. I get that. As a matter of fact, I'm scheduled to interview him in a matter of days. I'm glad you
Oh,
brought that up because I'm
that'll be
going to
very
ask him about
interesting.
We will be
because I
reacting.
certainly don't agree with that. I certainly don't agree with that. But I understand why he's doing it because there are folks, voters on the right, that's going to, that's going to sway them to some degree. And right now, I think we're living in an age where we see politicians, particularly when you're on the campaign trail, you're willing to say whatever you believe will curry votes. And I think this is one of those examples. I'm not saying he does or does not mean it. I don't know him. I've never met him. I've never talked to him. But the bottom line is I find it very, very difficult to believe that you would just come out your mouth and say something like that as a potential elected official in the year 2023, unless you believed it was going to work favorably for you in getting votes.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, I don't understand why people can't grasp this very simple concept about VIVEK Ramaswamy when it comes to his proposals and the things that he's saying. Because everybody seems to understand this when it comes to any other politician, because we all know how politicians are. A vast majority of the things that they say, when they actually do say things, because most of them say nothing, right? When they actually do say stuff, you don't expect them to actually really get it done, because we have this thing called checks and balances in the government. So clearly, right? Clearly, everybody knows that all of these candidates and the things that they propose are not going to get done, okay? Because they're going to have opposition to what they want to do, right? Everybody should understand. Everybody should know that. So when it comes to Vivek Ramaswamy's proposition of raising the voting age to 25, or you need to pass a civics test, or you need to serve in the military, in my opinion, I think most people should know that the likelihood of that actually happening is very slim. But at the very least, we know where Vivek Ramaswamy's mind is at in regards to how he's thinking about.
And why would he say that something like that this early? You got to think about it. If he wants to gain young voters, why would he say something about taking away young voters' vote, or not necessarily taking away, but adding stipulations? You know what I mean? Like adding some value to it, adding something that you actually have to, like, bro. I'm not gonna lie. If I pass a test, you know what I'm saying, and I get like a certificate or something like that, yeah, certified voter or something like that. Give me a certificate of certified voter, and I'm gonna hang that hoe up, man. That's the kind of energy that we need to be having about voting. You feel what I'm saying? Like we need to have that. I want to vote, and not just because it's an obligation on that Tuesday, on November 8th or whatever day it is. It's just an obligation. No, it's a right. It's a privilege. Well, not necessarily a right, but a privilege. You know what I mean? And I had to work for this, and because I had to work for this is something that I'm going to want to do. And especially if Vivek does what he says he's going to do and make it a national holiday, make Election Day a national holiday. Oh yeah, there's no reason why people wouldn't want to vote, why people wouldn't sign up to vote, why people wouldn't take that test to become a certified voter, or even just serve in the military, because tests aren't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Or a first responder role. So police officer, EMT, firefighter, something akin to that, Coast Guard, National Guard. You know what I'm saying? The reserves, something for 6 months, right? 6 months of service, and then you're able to vote. 6 months. That's not a very long time. It's 180 days. It's 180 days, and then you can vote. So really, there's not too much that you're losing out on. And it's not like in the year that you turn 18. For most people, the year that they turn 18, they're not going to be able to vote that year anyways. Why? Because voting is every other year. They might not be in that voting cycle. They might not vote that year. So they have time to get all that in order. They have time to take the test or study for the test, to become a first responder of some sort, to sign up for the military. So that way, the next voting cycle comes around, not only do they have skin in the game, boom, they're They know something about the country. And they want to vote. They're hungry to vote. They're ready to vote. You know, I know I was hungry to vote, but that's only because of how, like I was super into politics as a kid. But that's not everybody. Not everybody's super nerd like me. But if it's something that you have to earn, then most people are going to want to go out and do that. That's what I personally believe. I don't think you trust in, or I don't think you appreciate anything that you just inherit. Right? You have to actually be able to put in work for something in order to appreciate it. So that's how I feel about
that issue. And that's what really matters to me, because the spirit of what he's saying is getting to the heart of a problem that we have in our so-called democracy, and why I don't really like democracy, why I'm not a democracy guy, which is that we have a lot of people who are voting who literally know nothing about our government, right? And that's the beauty of what VIVEK Ramaswamy is saying, and the issue that he's bringing up that we don't talk about enough, because we have Democrats out here proposing for 16-year-olds to vote, right? 16-year-olds, kids, children who have no life experience, who know nothing about why they're voting. Well, why are Democrats doing that? Well, because they know it's easy to get people to vote Democrat or to vote.
When I was 16, I was a straight up communist. And it's not even funny. Like I was a straight up communist, bro. Straight up hippie commie, like 100% through and through. I was that. Like if I voted back then, Bernie would have motherfucking won. Like there's no way Bernie would have won if we would have been able to vote back then. Like we were all communists. Like everybody was a communist. It was like finding a conservative in my like town, in my school, in my city, like was hard pressed to do by the time I was 16. When I was a kid, you probably would have found more conservatives out here in Colorado, but not, or at least in Denver, because there's still more if you go out west or out east, down south. But in the metro, no, there's no way. It's all liberal right here. Like there's no way.
Vote liberal or progressive, because one, they're brainwashing kids in school to do so, right? And two, Democrats have this thing where they just tell people to go out and vote, and because they know most people who are ignorant, who know nothing, if they go vote, even though they otherwise wouldn't vote unless being told to vote, they're going to go and vote Democrat. This is why they do it. And all Democrats got to do is say Republicans are racist or sexist, or they're engaged in some sort of bigotry, and they want to cut your welfare and your food stamps, right? That's all Democrats got to say. And the ignorant voter, okay, they're going to go out there and they're going to vote D, right? They're going to vote D. And they know that young kids are the most gullible. If somebody has to tell you to go vote, then you probably shouldn't vote, right? I'm just saying.
Facts.
But it really kind of blows my mind that Stephen A. Smith.
Hold on, we gotta highlight that. Double click on that. Facts, bro. If somebody has to tell you to go vote, you should not be voting, bro. You should not be. If I have to drag your ass to the voting booth, you should not be voting, bro. You shouldn't be voting. Period. There's no way. There's no way. If you don't want to do it, it's not. Voting is not an obligation. That's the thing. It's not an obligation. So if it's not something that you want to take part in, then why are we forcing people to do it? Why are we trying to get those people to do it? Like, yeah, if you're going to get those people to vote, then do it the right way. Actually inspire them with some policy, right? Actually inspire them, make them want to vote for you. Don't just every 4 years make sure you get out and vote. Otherwise, you just you hate the country. Like that's not how that works, bro. That's not because like most people, you know what I'm saying. I know me in a certain sense. I used to be like this. Like if you told me to do something, I was most likely just gonna do the opposite. Especially if you hounded me for it, like, oh no, you gotta make sure you get this done. Do it. Make sure you do it. If you don't do it, you a bitch. If you don't do it, your mama's a bitch. If you don't do it, like you hate grannies or whatever the case might be. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. you're not gonna emotionally manipulate me. You got me fucked up. Like, so that's that. Like, I think that's a really great point that he just made right there. If you don't want to vote, you shouldn't be voting.
Can sit up here and say, yeah, well, we need a competency test for politicians who are 75 and older, right? Yeah, we need to have that type of test. But the people who actually vote the politicians into office, they don't need to demonstrate that, hey, you need to know something about the government, right? You need to know at least the basics. You should know as much as, for example, an immigrant who comes over here and wants to gain citizenship in this country. You should know at the very least as much as they know about the government, right? I don't think that that's a radical idea. I really don't. Because if we had that in place, you would need a mental competency test, because people like Joe Biden, who again ran on, hey, the other party's racist, they're going to cut your food stamps, they're going to cut your welfare, Trump bad, right? That's what he ran on, right? People.
And you ain't black if you ain't voting for me. If you don't know whether you want to vote for me or Trump, you ain't black.
People like Joe Biden, who, again, when he was running, clearly was not in his right state of mind. If VIVEK Ramaswamy's proposal was in place, if the voting age was raised to 25, I would argue that Joe Biden would have got elected, right? There's no way. There's no way. Because you would have had a bunch of ignorant folks, right, who probably shouldn't be voting in the first place. They would have sat it out. Again, I'm so serious. The reflexive pushback that people give to raising the voting age to 25 or pass a civics test or 6 months in the military, the reflexive pushback tells you everything you need to know about the confidence that the American people have in our education system.
Yep.
We have no confidence at all, right? Because what people are concerned about is something that we should not be concerned about, or we wouldn't be concerned about if we actually had confidence in our education system, which is, oh, well, what happens when you fail, right? Is it right to take away somebody's right to vote when they're 18 because they can't pass a civics test? Well, again, if kids were actually learning basic civics, which is what that immigration citizenship test is. I took some practice questions. They weren't very hard, right? It was a pretty easy test to me. Okay. I'm just saying, this is stuff that kids should be learning and should know when they graduate. And this stuff should be ingrained in their head. It shouldn't be something where they're allowed to just take the class and to get a C. And then, you know, they don't really know anything. And then they can go out and they can vote. No, they should actually have to know it. We have kids in this country who can't read or write. How in the hell are they informed voters? They're not. But yeah, you have people advocating for people who are uninformed to come out here and vote. And then you wonder why we get cities like Chicago that constantly vote against their own best interests. How does that happen? Well, it's because the honest to God truth is that the voters are ignorant. They're ignorant, right? I mean, again, how does Chicago end up with a mayor worse than Lori Lightfoot? The problems in Chicago are clear. Crime is the number one problem, okay? You had the moderate Democrat, Paul Vallis, who ran on, hey, let's back the police, okay? Let's get tougher on crime. You had the progressive, woke revolutionary, Brandon Johnson, who literally ran on defund the police, let's allow illegals to take over the city. That's what he ran on. And he was very loud about it, right? He made it very clear. This is what, you know, I want to do. The voters of Chicago elect Brandon Johnson, literally the worst possible pick to be their mayor. And they're the loudest in regards to complaining about the crime and the takeover of illegals. What you see in these liberal cities in regards to their voting habits is a reflection of our education system. It's a reflection of what happens when you encourage people who should not vote to vote. And this is why I'm not a democracy guy, right? This is why. When people ask, how you feel about democracy?
That's why it's a constitutional republic and not a democracy. This is exactly what that's the foresight that our forefathers had. Okay, foresight. Okay, that's why in the beginning you weren't able to vote unless you had land. Okay, and then that changed. So you know you had to you had to pass a literacy test, but then that was racist. So then they just took that away. So then it was just men who could vote. But then that was sexist. So then they took that away. So then women could also vote. But then you know what I'm saying, black people couldn't vote. So or black people weren't allowed to vote in certain places in the South and things like that. So boom, now boom, they had to pass, of course. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that like these are necessarily bad things, like these barriers get knocked down. These necessarily bad things, but there has to be something in place where not necessarily like where there's a meritocratic reason why people are able to vote. There has to be meritocracy to it. Like it can't just be because you were born here or like just because you were born here you're able to vote. That shouldn't be enough. What did John F. Kennedy say? Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And if all you're worried about is the actual, you know, hmm. Yeah, but that's the whole problem there. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're not an informed voter, if you're not somebody who's willing to actually take the time to do something or to earn something, then there's no reason why you're gonna want to like why you're gonna even care for it. There's no reason why. And then you're just gonna go in there, you're just gonna check off whatever fucking box, you know what I mean? Whatever, you know what I'm saying? Oh, this guy said that he's gonna give us some free stuff. I guess I'll take, you know, they said they were gonna, you know what I'm saying, you know, legalize this, you know, or legalize weed. They didn't think about anything else in the policy, you know, but they gonna legalize the weed, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. You know, this says that they're gonna give more money to schools. Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll do that. Then wonder why the motherfucking taxes are so damn high. Wonder why the crime is going up. Wonder why nigga the rent is going up. Wonder why the food is going up, and why everything is just getting bad. And it's because you're voting like a fucking idiot. That is an issue in this country, bro. That is an issue in this country, bro. 100 million voters that or 100 million plus Americans that don't vote. Why aren't we targeting those people? You know what I'm saying? And with policy, you know, inspiring them with policy, and then also enacting something like this, a meritocratic approach to how people vote. That would be an amazing thing. And then you don't even have to do any of the stuff that he's talking about. You don't have to take a test. You don't have to go to the military. You don't have to be a first responder of any sort. All you gotta do is wait till you're 25. Cool. Wait till you're 25. Life is short. Wait till you're 25.
Read about how Socrates felt about democracy. That's how I feel about democracy. Now, I like representative democracies. Okay, I like our constitutional republic, which is a form of a democracy, right? But what I don't like is full democracy. What I don't like is encouraging people who don't have the skill, because voting is a skill, okay, who don't have the skills necessary in order to decide who should be running a government. I don't like when people encourage those people to vote because they shouldn't in a functioning democracy. An educated voter is the key to a functioning democracy. A functioning democracy is a great thing. It's an amazing thing. Filtered democracy, again, is amazing. But full unfiltered democracy is not. It leads to chaos and destruction, which is, again, why you see what is happening in these inner liberal cities. Again, it's a reflection of our education system and the fact that we have such low standards for our education system. We have such
90-10 rule, man. 90-10 rule. 90% of people are idiots. 10% of people aren't. Those 10% of people know 90% more than those 10%, or than those 90% of people. Right? Like That's just what it is. That's what it's always going to be. And if you encourage all 90% of people to vote, we're going to be in hell sooner than we want to, man. Sooner than we fucking want to. And I don't want to go at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good on that. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and subscribe to DCP, Black Conservative Perspective. He's a great channel. I want to go ahead and hop into this Vivek Ramaswamy interview with Sean Spicer. Okay, this dropped yesterday. So we're gonna go ahead and hop into that here in a minute. Let me go ahead. Move it up. Move it up. All right. And forgive any ads, you know what I'm saying, that come up. If y'all want to go ahead, hit your boy up on Cash App so we can go ahead and get the rich people YouTube premium, you know what I'm saying, to let your boy know, but you know what I'm saying, that's just whatever. But let's go ahead and hop into this. The Sean Spicer Show, his interview with Vivek Ramaswamy. Let's hop into it.
Welcome to the Sean Spicer Show. We have a great episode coming your way today. We're going to sit down with Vivek Ramaswamy. He is the guy that's getting all of the buzz post-convention, good and bad. I mean, I think there's a lot of people the day after that debate. I woke up in Milwaukee. It was everywhere. Online, conservative influencers, Trump supporters. Then I turned on the morning shows. They're all talking about Vivek. The media was going after him. The left couldn't believe some of the answers to his questions. But there was no question about it. He was the guy that everybody was talking about. We're going to ask him all the questions. I want to talk to him about what he thinks post-debate, what he thinks about the attack. What's going to happen to him if he can get this down to a one-on-one race with Donald Trump? I think that might change the dynamic just a little bit. Suddenly, you're going to get called names. I mean, remember, I asked Don Jr. about the debate and DeSantis, and he brought...
Man, a debate between Vivek and Don, bro. There's no way. A debate between Vivek Ramaswamy and Donald Trump. That would be the greatest debate, one of the greatest debates in American history. I think that I hands down. Like Vivek he's too smooth. He's amazing in how he talks, and then Trump is fucking Trump, bro. Like he just has the crowd behind him. He has that charisma. He commands the room when he walks in, and you know Vivek has that kind of energy too. But like there's just nobody like Trump, bro. That's just what it is. That's what it is. I think anybody can agree with that. You know, like right or left. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as a political figure in modern America, there has not been a figure like Donald Trump since maybe Ronald Reagan. Like it's very, you know what I mean? Like it's very close in my opinion. So yeah, like I would love to see that debate. Please, let me see that debate.
Brought up Vivek Ramaswamy, and see, he was very praiseworthy of his response and his performance. Well, what's going to happen when Vivek Ramaswamy is that number 2 guy, if that comes to be, and everyone else drops out? I don't think Donald Trump's going to have too many nice things to say about it. I'm sorry. I've known the guy long enough. It doesn't matter. He's going to go after him. How is Vivek going to respond? I will ask him that question. What does he think about the story that Newsmax tried to get him to buy ads in return for better coverage? That's a question that I think is going to be interesting. Why is he going on MSNBC? I wonder that. He's a smart businessman, right? Why would he do that? Not because I don't think it's good to take your message everywhere. I do. But why? Why spend a ton of time on an outlet where no Republicans are? That's what we want to break down. So much to break down with the guy who everybody's talking about. And we're about to do it. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
do me a favor. Right now,
Okay.
we don't know what day it is, but you guys know how this works. Someday, something's going to happen. We're going to get canceled at some rate, right? So if you're watching it on the first, 347 on DirecTV, who knows? You know, we've seen all these stories over the years, DirecTV shutting out one station or not. And the first, I don't see that ever happening, but you never know. So it's good to have redundancy. Also, even if you're just watching online, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe and notification button. Go to Rumble. 1 or 2 should be your backup system. But you know how it works. The algorithms, the cancellations,
Rumble.
the shadow banning.
You guys follow me on.
It's also super helpful to go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Why? Even if you just watch it on YouTube or you're watching.
I'm gonna put my Rumble in the chat because you got it. Rumble is kind of weird. I don't really like it like that. At least as far as like the live streaming goes, you gotta have 5 subscribers in order to start live streaming. So if you guys want to go ahead and follow me at the Cult-ure Show, I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the chat. Right back in.
Watching it on the first, it helps us, and I appreciate that. It's so important for the outside world to see how well independent media is doing and the support that we have. So it's just important. It helps folks see that you all want this content. We don't have big corporate folks that can spin and all that kind of stuff. We rely on downloads. So again, it's helpful to us. It's helpful to you to make sure you got a backup plan. So please do that. And obviously, you know, this conversation that we're going to have with Vivek Ramaswamy, you never know. What is this the day that they decide to cancel us? Who knows? So please take a moment and do that. But speaking of getting going and kicking some butt at debates and whatever, he didn't need this because he's young and he is clearly energetic. But people like me, I need a morning kick, a literal morning kick. And you know who gives it to me? Chuck Norris. That's right. Every morning I start my day off with morning kick. It is what Chuck Norris has come up with. You know him, right? You've seen him. He's an action star, a veteran, a family guy, but he's more than anything big on his health and big on fitness. That's what I think everybody looks at that guy and says, he could probably kick my butt. He's 83 years old. I've told you this like every day because I look at that and go, I'd like to look like a third of that, a half of that maybe. And I'm in my 50s. Chuck's tried everything, as you can imagine. When you're a fitness kind of guy, you're trying all these supplements. It's like everyone's telling you to take that pill, take a scoop of this. Well, he tried everything and he did it for us. He created Morning Kick. It's got probiotics that help you lose weight, prebiotics, which is the digestion thing, and then a bunch of superfoods that help you with joints and all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to mix everything. It's one scoop in the morning, plop it in, a little cold water. I mean, you don't have to do cold water. I like the cold water. If you go to mymorningkick.com/Spicer, you can get it for yourself and be like Chuck. mymorningkick.com/Spicer. You can start your morning like me. I don't know that you have to do it every morning. I know it's called Morning Kick. I like it in the morning. It's the first thing I do. So join us. Join me and Chuck. I don't think he knows that, but that's the one thing we have in common. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own results, right? But the goal is to have clearer thinking, better digestion, and feel better. And that's what it does. And it eliminates having to look around and figure out where you want to, take 18 measuring cups of this and that. It's one thing, boom, done. So try mymorningkick.com and be like Chuck and me, or me and Chuck. Anyway.
Welcome to the Quick Start Guide for setting up your first ad campaign with TikTok Ads Manager. If you haven't...
All right. We are about to bring you an amazing discussion with Vivek Ramaswamy. This is the go. One of the places that it's not just geographical. You go on CNN, get the Patriot Power Generator. And if you go to 4 Patriots, the number 4, patriots.com, use the code SPICER, you can get 10% off your first purchase. It's if you spend over $97, it's shipping is free. You get a year of their famous guarantee. But think about it, whether it's you or a gift, this is something that you want to have in your house. You want to give to a relative to make sure that they have it. It's a great gift to give, just in case you're want to get ahead of Christmas or holiday shopping. Go to 4patriots.com. Use code SPICER, get 10% off. That's 4patriots.com. Go now. Let's get back to that chat with Vivek. Look, you've been making a very good case about going places that a lot of people, a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives don't go. One of the places that it's not just geographical. You go on CNN. And I want to play a quick clip of that exchange you had with Dana Bash this weekend, where she talks about comments that Congresswoman Presley made about you. Take a listen.
To say that she represents and she is a modern version of a KKK, which, as you know, was dedicated to the subjugation and violence against Black people. How on earth is she a modern
Dana,
grand wizard
let's be intellectually
of that
honest.
kind of organization?
Let's be intellectually honest and get to the heart of what this debate ought to be about. There is a worldview that says that the remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination, that if you're Black or brown, you have to have a particular point of view. That's from Ibram Kendi. That's from Ayanna Pressley, the people I quoted in my speech yesterday.
But can
There's
you
a
have
different
an
view that I
intellectually
have, which
honest
says that regardless of
conversation
who you are,
when you accuse
have to
her
be able to
of
have your own
being a
opinion.
grand wizard
Let's
of
have
the
the debate.
KKK? Can you have that intellectually
the
honest
point is-
discussion with that kind of rhetoric?
Yes, I can, Dana, because the point I'm highlighting is that even the people who, in good spirit, we all agree that the KKK was an awful organization that is a toxic stain in our national history. So given that we can start from that point of agreement, now that allows us to say, well, who actually sounds more like that organization today? The people who are calling for more racial discrimination on the basis of skin color.
Okay, so here's what I found interesting about that clip. Not your response. I'm going to leave that to others. What I found interesting is this, because you have been a champion of going after woke capitalism, woke policy. The default was what Congresswoman Presley said about you was okay. She attacked you for the color of your skin and not abiding by this idea that you have to have this view of the world based on the color of your skin. That was never a concern to CNN. Right. Their concern was, here's your response to her basically racist proposition that if you have a certain color skin, which is what Congresswoman Presley attacked you for, you must believe in this. I get a kick out of the fact that these guys have there was nothing wrong in their view with what Congresswoman Presley said. It was your response that they went after.
That's as a former communist, I can attest that this is something that we did often, right? We can, as a former communist, I'll admit to doing things like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something about the communists in America, like the kind of liberal I was. You gotta think about it. Like, even though I was Mr. Mr. Black Power, what it really was is I actually believed in the lie of white supremacy, right? Like, you sensationalize white people in your mind, and then you put yourself on this plane that's lower than them. You're always looking at them. So you look around, and it's a bunch of niggas dying. You know what I'm saying? A bunch of Black people dying, and it's not white people shooting us. It's not white people killing us. None of that. No, it's other niggas. But you're not worried about that, right? You're not worried about that 13,000 murders a year. You know what I'm saying? Homicides a year of black on black crime. We're not worried about that, right? We're not worried about that. We're worried about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year that a white guy and a black guy get into an altercation, and then it makes national news. That's the only thing that we're worried about. We're not worried about when all the crime is happening in our community, when niggas is breaking in and robbing each other and killing each other and making music about it and dancing and stomping on niggas' graves and shit, hitting the motherfucking the Dougie and shit on niggas' graves, just for clicks and likes and that's all fine. That's all fine. But anytime a white person says anything about it, holds up a little bit of a mirror, or anybody of any race, like holds up a little bit of a mirror, it's over immediately. So let's go ahead and get it.
I stand by my response, by
That's
the way.
fine, but don't you think
And
that
you
that's
know,
ridiculous? That
It's
she
it's
gets
laughable
a
but
pass?
predictable. It's laughable but predictable. The idea, I just want to dissect it for a second, Sean. The idea that the color of your skin should restrict what you say. I can't think of a more racist idea. I think the Grand Wizard of the KKK, in the height of their heyday, would say, you know what, if you have a certain skin color, you better shut up, sit down, and do as you're told. And that's exactly what the likes of Ibram Kendi and Ayanna Pressley say today. Shut up, sit down, and do as you're told. If you're not a black or brown face that has a black or brown voice, we have no use for you. I think it's racist. It's racist at its core. It's the definition of what it means to be toxic and racist. And I'm calling that out for what it is. And I know that made a lot of the left suffer from, I would say, an anaphylactic response and have a mental conniption. But the reality is we need to close the gap between what people say in private and public, start talking openly again. And if I had to guess, the way Dana Bash approached that interview, in her heart of hearts, she probably agrees with me too. But they have to follow the script that's handed from on high in the modern progressive orthodoxy. And I don't adhere to anybody's script, certainly not that one. And so I think that's why we're having a lot of fun in this race. And, you know, they call it the Overton window, Sean, that space of what you're allowed to say in public. This campaign is running a truck through that Overton window, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
So speaking of that window in places that you've gone, again, I will give you credit. I think you, as someone who has been preaching this at the Republican Party and others, you are going places. But in a campaign, there are the most valuable asset and the most valuable resource is the candidate's time. That's your time. You went on MSNBC the other day and had it out. I mean, look, by the way, I find it awesome. I think you run circles around Chuck Todd, the folks at CNN, and then Andrea Mitchell. I find it unbelievably entertaining, and I think there's very few people who can do it as effectively as you can. But my question is this. Strategically speaking, you are a smart businessman. Not a smart, you are an unbelievably successful businessman. Is it smart for you to be spending as much time as you are on networks? If you were a businessman and you said, how much money can I make going to visit that customer or that market? Yep. My question is, how much are you gaining going on MSNBC? And, you know, just to bring this up, the AP just announced a forum at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C.
Bucket loads. So look at me. Look it up. Watching you mix. I'm not watching Sean Spicer for Sean Spicer. I'm watching Sean Spicer show to see Vivek Ramaswamy. That is what he's gaining right now. He's gaining traction like a motherfucker. Even if, like, all news is good news. All news is good news. All publicity is good publicity. Okay? If MSNBC is coming after him, if CNN is coming after him, if fucking Fox is coming after him, if, you know what I'm saying, Newsmax is coming in, if all the establishment media are coming after him, what do you think that tells people like me? What do you think that tells people like me? And then what do you think it tells the people who are actually watching during the daytime, who actually see him get on there and then proceed to destroy each and every single one of these commentators like it's child's play, like he's not even trying. You know what I mean? Like, but what does he gain from it? But let's see what Vivek's response is.
Would you go to something like that? And how much do you think that benefits your campaign versus, say, spending more time in Iowa or New Hampshire?
So it's a good question. And I think that there's a balance. But my view is there's some unconventional things we're doing in this campaign. Yes. I've even gone geographically to the south side of Chicago or Kensington in the middle of Philadelphia, not exactly early states or GOP voting regions in the middle of a primary. But what I'm hoping to demonstrate, and the case I'm making, is that the America First agenda means that we stand for all Americans, not Ukrainian government officials, but all Americans here at home. And I think I'm the only candidate in this race who has a last best chance of truly reuniting this country, not by compromising on our principles. See, when I go to those other networks, I don't sort of mollify what I say, like the Chris Christie's and Mike Pence's of the world. No, I don't think that compromise is how we get to national unity. I do it by being uncompromising about our principles, but to also say that even though we disagree, we agree on each other's rights to actually say it. That's why I go to college campuses across this country as well. And so I hope by leading with example, I can look all people, including our primary base, in the eye and say that, you know what, if I'm asking you to put me across the table from Xi Jinping, I've proven to you that I'm willing to sit across the table from Chuck Todd or Don Lemon or a 22-year-old college kid or giving the microphone to a protester at my event in Ottumwa, Iowa. And to show you that I have the fortitude to lead on the global stage by being strong here at home.
Yeah.
And I think there are other candidates that have a different philosophy. They have said that they won't talk to NBC News because NBC is not nice to them. I view it differently. I have the fortitude. I can handle the heat. And you know what? We end up coming out time and time again, winning on the other side of those exchanges. I'm a big part of the reason why Don Lemon is not on the air, as the New York Times reported afterwards.
Dumped him. Nigga dug it. Destroyed him. Destroyed him. And then Don Lemon, he got so fucking rude. I don't know if y'all saw that video. Maybe we'll pull it up at some point. But if you ever saw that video, so Vivek proceeds to destroy him on every single topic that he talks about. Don Lemon starts bringing up I won't let whatever you are, whatever race you are, tell me what I am or what I can do as a black man or how I feel as a black man or this, that, and the other. He starts going on that. Then, they're all like, okay, we're going to cut the segment, this, that, and the other. He's basically shooing them off the set like, oh, yeah, you can go now. You can go. Like, this is on air still. You can go down. Like, wow. And not too long after that, dropped his goofy ass. And that's what he did.
And so we show up on the other side's home turf. Is it an even playing field? No, it's not. But we show up and we win. That's what I'm showing our base, and I hope they reward me for it.
Yeah, and like I said, I give you credit for it. I just question the risk. Is the juice worth the squeeze? All right, sorry to interrupt that conversation, but I got to tell you quickly about Delta Rescue. As an animal lover, I am so excited about the work that Delta is doing.
So if you don't skip that, you're gonna get this.
Anybody that has a need,
you're gonna get this right here. You're gonna get somebody.
Now back to our conversation. One place that I thought was interesting that you did show up, this is years ago, a clip has resurfaced of you in the audience at Hardball questioning Al Sharpton. When you questioned Al Sharpton, though, you said, and this is back when Kerry and Edwards and others were running, you talked about them being in this audience and showing up, and then you questioned Sharpton and you said, why should I vote for you if you're the least experienced?
Reverend Sharpton, hello, I'm Vivek, and I want to ask you, last week on the show we had Senator Kerry, and this week and the week before we had Senator Edwards, and my question for you is, of all the Democratic candidates out there, why should I vote for the one with the least political experience?
well, you shouldn't, because I have the most political experience.
So here's the question. It's a fair question now for you among the same, it's almost the same dynamic. You got these senators and former governors, et cetera. So how would you answer the same question that younger Vivek asked?
So one of the things that I've learned is that those with the so-called experience in this country are the ones who have actually ruined this country. Look at the people with experience who led us into Iraq, an invasion on a flawed theory of weapons of mass destruction. Those who led us into the 2008 financial crisis and the toxic bailouts that came afterwards. Both of those, by the way, are experienced Republicans. You see the same thing on the other side, the experienced intelligence officials who claimed that the Trump-Russia collusion hoax was really the collusion and the partnership with Russia was really a credible theory. Those same intelligence experts are also the ones that have experience enough to say the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. So you see that time and again, the experts who wrote a letter to the Lancet saying that the pandemic did not originate in a lab in China when we now know today that it does. Repeatedly, what have we learned? The so-called experts, those with experience, they're the ones that have been repeatedly crashing the car of this country time and again. And if somebody repeatedly crashes your car every time over and over again, try handing over the keys to somebody new instead. That's what I've learned actually over the years, is that the so-called experience is really a formula for corruption. It's a formula for entitlement. And you know what? I do just think at this moment in our history, it will take someone coming in from the outside to get this ship right. And part of the reason I understand this is as a young person, I'm a millennial.
Right.
I'm part of a generation that the government has repeatedly lied to on issue after issue, time and again. Even the idea of the American dream, the idea that you get a 4-year college education with debt. You know what? It worked out okay for me, but many of my peers are still paying off their college debts. It's been one lie after another. And I understand why young people are now jaded and cynical, Sean. I really do. I get it.
Right.
I know how to reach them. But I think it is going to take that outsider both in substance and in spirit to get that done. And I think I'm the true outsider in this race, and that's why I'm in it.
No question about it. And that's why I think you had the reaction you did. One last question, because I know your time is tight.
Yeah.
There was, in the last couple of days, Newsmax has put out several texts and Instagram posts talking about the polling, and neither here nor there, but it seems to be going after you, talking about, and I just how you fared after the debate. But there was a story that had come out in an outlet called Semaphore a couple of weeks ago saying that they had tried to pressure you into buying more ads. Can you just clarify, is that true? And do you think that that's why their posts and such target you in a way that might not be fairly?
Well, I have seen a difference in coverage since that story came out from Semaphore. So that's just a fact. And I think you and others have apparently noticed it too. I didn't provide that information to Semaphore, but Semaphore did report that Newsmax said that, you know what, one of the ways we could get more coverage was through advertising. And so, look, I want to be respectful to colleagues across the political spectrum. People can look at the facts and form their own judgments about which candidates have been or had purchased ads and have been, treated in a certain way on that network, even some candidates who weren't on that debate stage. But, I'm not in this race to disparage or to, embarrass anybody else. I'm in this race to speak the truth about what I stand for and where we're headed. All I will say is it has been very educational for me to see how corrupt the existing political media establishment is. And that's not limited to right wing or left wing. It's just a broken system, the super PAC puppetry of the way partisan politics is run. It's been an eye-opening experience for me, but all the more reason why it's given me my sense of conviction that it takes a true outsider willing to speak the truth to get that job done. And on the particular question that you're asking about, I think it wouldn't take Sherlock Holmes to do their homework and figure out for themselves, both before and after, exactly how things go down in media.
All right. Well, listen, I know you're busy. You've huge big response after that first debate. Look forward to seeing you out in Simi Valley at the next debate. Congratulations on your success since the debate. Be safe on the campaign trail, and we'll see you back.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Tell me when's the last time you heard a motherfucking politician? Like he's not. I know he's not a politician, but he's running in a race now, so technically he is now a politician, right? Or at least running to be one. So politician to be. When is the last time you heard a politician to be speaking like this? Just cold, hard, straight to it, just motherfucking fights. Just straight fights. And eloquent too. He knows how to speak in a way that, it's not too confusing for anybody. You know what I mean? Like it's not like he's not dumbing anything down. You know what I'm saying? He's just speaking, just like how you kind of would if you're talking to somebody in any conversation. I love that about him. He just has the conversations with people. He goes around and talks to every fucking body. He talks to every fucking body. Like I first saw him when he fucking destroyed Tez and Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club. Like I don't even watch Breakfast Club. I was like, who's this Indian dude? Like, who's this Indian dude on the Breakfast Club? Like presidential, he's running for the president on the Breakfast Club. Yeah, who is this? Who is this? You know what I'm saying? I watch it, and he's like sitting here just like, first of all, getting attacked, and then dismantling every single one of them in the room, one by fucking one, and politely too. Politely, the most polite ass whooping that I've ever seen in my life. Okay, and then Larry Elder just put him under. So like, honestly, I hope the Breakfast Club is like on his way down, because there's no way they can't keep getting away with this. They're so trash, bro. Everything about them is so ass, bro. So yeah, I mean, let's see what else we gonna go ahead and get into. What else we got? Yeah, man, I really enjoy. I very much so enjoy the candor that Vivek Ramaswamy has with certain people. shit with anybody. I've seen him on like channels with like channels that have like 2K followers. Like this young conservative kid, like I forget his name. I don't remember his name. So, but yeah, he was like a little young conservative kid, little white dude. Like 2,000 followers. And he's 15 minute interview. Asked him a couple of questions. You know what I'm saying? About his policies. Kid's like 16, 17 or something like that. Like he went ahead and gave him an interview. Like he'll talk to anybody, and I absolutely fuck with that. If there's if that's something that I want in a fucking leader right there. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're going to change gears a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Get off politics for a second. We're gonna look at some wrestling news. That's what we're gonna do. Where are we? Oh, hold on real quick. While we're doing this, we're gonna look at so we got the great one getting pulled up right now. You know what I'm saying? With some news on CM Punk. Apparently, CM Punk just got fired from AEW. So we're gonna go ahead and take a little back real quick. Let's do it.
CM Punk is creating problems in my life. It's past midnight. WWE Payback is happening at 3 a.m. in my country. I was supposed to take a nap. And I'm gonna be editing this video. Thanks, Phil. You've heard it right, ladies and gentlemen. CM Punk got fired from AEW. Tony Khan finally showed his cojones. Some of us thought maybe he doesn't have any. It wasn't a very bold claim. But unfortunately, as much as it sucks, it was probably needed to be done. In the past hour, I've seen a lot of comments on this video. Apparently, I was wrong about something. I assume it's from people who didn't watch the entire video. That's not the point I was trying to make. I've said many, many times, even in that video, that CM Punk is problematic. That's how I started the video. Literally the first thing I've said. We can all agree that CM Punk is pretty problematic. To sum it up, the point I was making in that video is that I don't care whether CM Punk is right or wrong, whether he's a good guy or a bad person. This was a very historic event and Jack Perry should have known better. He shouldn't have started things with CM Punk. Now obviously, and I've mentioned that in the previous video, CM Punk overreacted. It got physical. Well, that's where you cross the line. I understand. And part of me is sad because CM Punk is no longer going to be wrestling. That's a big possibility. But part of me is happy that Tony Khan finally made an example out of someone. I know you want to be buddies with the wrestlers, and that's great. That's awesome. He's such a nice, innocent dude sometimes, from what I can tell. But this is still business, and you can't be a pushover. Apparently, there's footage of the fight, so maybe that changed some minds. Maybe CM Punk was really in the wrong, and he started, getting physical. As unfortunate as it is, maybe it was the right decision. So here's AEW's official statement. All Elite Wrestling has terminated the wrestler and employment agreements between Phil Brooks and AEW with cause effective immediately. The termination was confirmed today by Tony Khan, CEO, General Manager, and Head of Creative of AEW. The termination follows a week-long internal investigation of an accident occurring backstage at AEW All in London on Sunday, August 27. Following the investigation, the AEW Discipline Committee met that and later convened with outside legal counsel before making a unanimous recommendation to Khan that CM Punk be terminated with cause. Khan offered the following statement. Phil played an important role within AEW, and I thank him for his contributions. The termination of his AEW contract with cause is ultimately my decision and mine alone. Of course, I wish I didn't have to share this news, which may come as a disappointment to many of our fans. Nevertheless, I'm making the decision in the best interest of the many amazing people who make AEW possible every week. Our talent, staff, venue operators, and many others whose efforts are unsung but essential to bringing our fans great shows on television at arenas and stadiums throughout the world. Pretty decent statement. Tony Khan was like, this was my decision and my decision alone. Can you see these balls growing in front of your eyes, ladies and gentlemen? Balls so big, call me Tony Big Ball.
Tony about to turn into Vince, but shit, man, that's tough, man. Because I won't sit here and lie like I watch AEW. I do not. You know what I mean? Like if I catch the odd episode, then I will. You know what I mean? I'll watch it, but like I haven't really seen any of the episodes lately with CM Punk, so not really something that I've been that interested in. I guess I'm just a WWE guy, but you know, shit, it sucks because I know Vince, neither Vince nor Triple H is about to bring CM Punk over there. There's no way. No, there's no way. I don't think they're gonna do it. I don't think they're gonna do it. I don't think Phil's gonna do it. I think he's gonna be like, fuck that. I'd rather just not wrestle. I know AJ Lee's about to be mad though. Oh, I know AJ's about to be mad at the motherfucker. You got fired from another job. Again, motherfucker. Oh my goodness. But yeah, man, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna get out of here for a little bit. I'm probably gonna go back live tonight or tomorrow in the morning. So yeah, you guys go ahead and have a great rest of your night. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world, you know, you could have been anywhere, but you decided to come and pull up with your boy, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. So we're gonna go ahead and sign off here. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
It's just different. I see the way these people moving, gotta step according. These days you never know who's watching, better keep your 40. Been on my soapbox for years, saying the end was coming. While y'all was busy popping Zans, the master plan unfolded. Now all I see is bot bitches and fake niggas and pussy niggas who only bust triggers on other niggas. You get an illegal weapon and started taking pictures, like them feds ain't watching all in your celly system. China's here, motherfucker, they're no longer coming. We wear the shackles on our faces and you niggas love it. You niggas